An Introduction to the Book of Colossians. The Apostle Paul wrote this inspired letter in Rome around 60 or 61 CE. This was during his first imprisonment there while he was under house arrest. Paul's letter to the Colossians indicates that he had not visited Colossae. Evidently, the congregation there was the fruitage of the work of Epaphras. Still, Paul knew several members of the congregation, including Apphia, Archippus, and Philemon, to whom he also wrote an inspired letter. Sometime after the congregation was founded, false teachers tried to mislead the Colossian Christians with deceptive philosophies. Epaphras traveled many hundreds of miles from Colossae to Rome to give a report on the congregation to Paul. The letter to the Colossians has 4 chapters. In chapter 1, Paul expresses his desire that the Colossians continue to grow in accurate knowledge of God. Paul then describes God's Son as the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creation, and the one through whom all other things were created. Christ is also the head of the congregation. In chapter 2, the apostle warns the Colossians about those who are promoting philosophies and the observance of the Mosaic Law. Paul stresses that the Mosaic Law has been erased and taken out of the way. God had figuratively nailed it to Christ's torture stake. Did you know? At Colossians 4:10, Paul mentions Mark, the cousin of Barnabas. For a short time, Mark, also called John, accompanied Paul and Barnabas on their first missionary tour. But Mark left them and may have returned home to Jerusalem, which disappointed Paul. About 12 years later, however, Mark was in Rome as Paul's co-worker. Clearly, any breach between the two had been healed. In chapter 3, Paul encourages the congregation to go on seeking the things above, where the Christ is seated at the right hand of God. The apostle also exhorts the Colossians to strip off the old personality, to clothe themselves with the new personality, and to continue forgiving one another freely. In chapter 4, Paul tells the Colossians to persevere in prayer along with thanksgiving. He also writes, "Let your words always be gracious, seasoned with salt, so that you will know how you should answer each person." As you read the inspired letter to the Colossians, note how we should continue to grow in accurate knowledge of God, how we can cultivate a Christ-like personality, and how our speech should always be gracious, especially as we proclaim the good news of God's kingdom.